Welcome to the Red Sauce Podcast with Papa Joe. We're live here from Piazza Talarico and Papa Joe's wine cellar. As you know, probably by now, I'm Papa Joe with my two daughters, Katie.
Hi.
Katie's our resident Italian language and Italian culture scholar, and historian and fact checker, and Beth. Beth is our resident pit fan, gangster aficionado,
And pain in the ass.
and pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And today is a special day because today we're all Damar fans. We got some great news today about Damar. Looks like he's going to be fine.
Today's January 5th, by the way.
Yeah. But this is going out real soon, so they'll know.
I'm just
Okay.
making sure we know.
So anyway, today we're going to have a little bit of a different one. We're going to talk about the history of Piazza Talarico and Papa Joe's wine cellar, how we got started, some of our inspiration to get started.
And the history of the Talarico family.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be complete without that. So we'll start. You want me to start?
Yeah, because I don't know where we're going.
Okay. We're going to start from the beginning. The beginning is November
Second.
2nd, 1913. That's the day my grandfather, Giuseppe Talarico, came over here from, landed in Ellis Island from Calabria, from Cersale was the town he came from. And he settled in this country. He was sponsored by a guy named Charlie Scalise up in Erie. So he was, so when he got off the boat, he got to Erie. I think he probably got there on a train. I'm not sure, but I would bet that's what happened.
This might be a stupid question, but what is Charlie in Italian? Is it Calogero
It might be or else Carlo.
or Carlo? Okay.
Yeah.
Because like Chaz Palminteri
Ask Anna if anybody ever calls Los.
calls her dad that. Yeah.
Charles.
I
Charlie.
don't know. I was just wondering what that translates as. Because
Yeah.
if he was an immigrant himself, it wouldn't have originally been Charlie.
No, it wouldn't have been, but that's what they always called him as I was growing up. I never met
Right.
the guy, obviously, because he was probably 20, 30 years older than my grandfather, so I would imagine that he was dead, before I was even born. But anyway, that's that story. So anyway, Grandpa Talarico, and we always called him Grandpa. We never called him Papa.
Or no.
No, nothing like that. And I think, that was probably our family's way of assimilating into a American society.
Yeah.
So he was a worker this whole life. I mean, he came over, actually, and this is really kind of, in a way, an inspiring, but in another way, a very sad story. His father, when he was 18, put him on a boat alone and basically said, you got to go over there and you got to make a better life for yourself. Now, I don't know if he ever, planned on going back. As it turns out, he never saw his father and mother again because by the time he got back to Calabria, actually, I was alive by the time he got back to Calabria.
We have pictures.
Probably in the 60s.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say I know I have Grandpa's photo albums right now.
Yeah.
I've had them for 5 years. Sorry,
Yeah.
Aunt Mary Kay, I need to give you those back. But there are some pictures of Grandpa Joe and Grandma Katie getting on a flight to go over there, and then I think that's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So anyway, he was living in Erie, and somehow, nobody knows exactly how, although I think we can suspect as much, but somehow he hooked up with a girl in Waynesburg, Pennsylvania, which is about 60, 70 miles south of Pittsburgh, Erie being 120 miles north. And I'm sure that he didn't go down, he didn't go from Erie to Waynesburg for a party and meet Grandma Katie there.
Nah, it was a machata.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had to be arranged. They never said as much. They never said no, but they never said as much. And it's funny because of all the stories I heard these stories a million times, growing up, sitting around Grandma's kitchen table or on Sundays in her basement. And, it was the same stories all the time. They were great stories. Mostly the greatest stories were about her brothers, the Mancuso guys from
Tony?
Tony, Sidney, Weddy, Jimmy, and all those guys from Waynesburg. They'd come up a couple times a year and we'd talk to them. But it was funny because, Italians are, mostly full-blooded Italians are pretty short. These guys were like 6'2" and 6'3", and they looked like mobsters. And rumor has it they may have been, but we don't know, so we don't know, we don't care. But
Who are we to judge how
I care.
people,
Yeah.
who are
And-
we to judge how
Yeah.
these people made a living?
Although, if they were mobsters, my dad's family, my grandfather's family, grandmother's family, never got any advantage from the money.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was that, and we grew up. We always had the Sunday dinners at Grandma's house.
Sorry,
You
Dad.
have to stop tapping your fingers.
Stop tapping
Okay.
your fingers. Yeah.
All right.
Beth and I are laughing at that, but I'm also laughing at. It's become kind of your thing to say. So anyway.
So anyway,
No, that's
yeah.
fine. It's just, I think next time the towel needs to be under where your hands go.
His buffer needs to
So
be a
anyway,
little bit.
without
yeah.
tapping my fingers on the table and making a noise here,
Just smack him, Beth. That's what I do.
we always had the Sunday dinner in my grandmother's basement, and she made the macaroni. Usually, it was any kind of macaroni. The best stuff was the longzita, but we had all different kinds. Every week it was a
She
different
made
kind.
that?
Oh yeah. Not too often because that was I don't know, it was not the easiest stuff to eat, but she made it.
Did you guys have the mezzi rigatoni or the regular rigatoni?
Regular rigatoni.
So the mezzi rigatoni was more grandma and grandpa, my
Yeah.
grandma and grandpa.
Yeah, exactly.
Because grandma always made the mezzi rigatoni, and
Yeah.
that was always one of our favorites.
Yeah.
And that's what we do here.
Yeah. So anyway, we were there every Sunday with my Uncle Sam and Aunt Carmi and their kids, Rick, Tom, and Kathy. My Aunt Mary and Uncle Dom and their daughter Patty. And occasionally my Aunt Yo and Uncle Al that were living at the time in Leechburg when I was young and then moved to Delaware with their sons Bill and Alan. And we didn't see Bill and Alan as much because they were out of town, but every single Sunday, that's what happened. So as we got older, and my grandparents died. My grandmother died at about 84, 85, and my grandfather at about 92. By the time the girls were born, they were gone. And we had our own Sunday traditions at my mom's house, Ida, and my dad, Frank, and their grandma and grandpa. And you can tell them a little bit about that, you two.
Well, even after we moved down here, we moved here in 2000
So it was August of 2000.
from
yeah.
Erie to Zelienople. And I mean, I remember going up just about every Sunday anyway.
It was every Sunday or every other at the very least.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I'm just laughing at Dad fidgeting.
Go ahead.
There was one thing I wanted to say. Dad's talking about how that family unit was very, very close. Like he was close to his cousins growing up and stuff like that. And I think it's pretty amazing that, Grandma and Grandpa have been gone for a few years now. Grandma's been gone 6 years.
Yeah.
And Grandpa, it's been 9.
Yeah.
We're still pretty damn close as a family unit.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a great thing because, I mean,
Yeah.
well, especially like Beth and I,
It's me. I'm the glue.
you are the glue. Well, you're the one that makes all the plans. But-
Exactly. I'm the glue.
Well, I'm saying extended family wise because
I'm like Jeff on Curb Your Enthusiasm.
you're the glue.
Or like
Okay,
Jerry
you're the glue.
Seinfeld. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, what I wanted to say was, like Beth and I, Jen is my age. Our cousin Jen,
Yeah.
your niece, Sam's daughter, is our age. And Ann is 6 years older than Jen and I. We're all best friends. Beth, Jen, Ann, and I are in a text message like group and talk all the time. And even beyond that, I mean, I was talking to Shelly today, Mary Kay's daughter.
Yeah.
Like I talk to my cousins all the time, and people comment all the time. Especially, I mean, our immediate family is even closer. It's weird if we go 3 weeks without seeing our brothers, with the exception of Matt, who, we were lucky to see 2-3 times a year. But I talk to Matt more than anybody else just because he is so far away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's one of the great things we've gotten from our heritage and from, this old school Italian family. We're a pretty damn close family, and we've kind of kept that. We've kept that going. Anyway, Beth, what
And-
did you want to say about dinner? Sorry, Dad.
No, that was all. I mean, I'll chip in here and there, but no, I
Yeah.
just wanted to say that I don't remember a time not going up there on Sundays.
Yeah.
I just don't.
And-
And
yeah.
I think I remember the time that I actually was finally like, why do we do this every Sunday? Not that I cared. I mean, I loved it.
Yeah, why not?
But I was like, why are we always here on Sundays? Why only Sundays,
What
And,
is so special about Sunday?
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
I just
The
always
food.
associated it with football and food.
The food. You know, and that's the thing. I mean, you say you're the glue, but the other glue was the food.
I know. No, I was joking because
I know you're.
Well,
I know
because
you're.
since Grandma and Grandpa have been gone, I'm the one that calls a brother and says, "Hey, we're coming up." So we have 4 brothers scattered
Yeah.
around Erie, and I'll call and say, "Hey, we're coming up. If you want to see us for 2 hours, we'll take turns, or if you just want to see us all day,
Right.
Somebody offer to host. I'll cook. I don't care." And we've done that many times. You know, we do it at
Yeah.
Joe and Kara's a lot, or Dan
Yeah.
and Gina's, or whatever. But and I remember distinctly when Grandma moved out of her house after Grandpa died.
When she moved into assisted living.
Yeah, I was at the wake, and I'm sure you remember this. I had cried a little bit about Grandpa passing away and stuff, but it didn't really hit me yet. And that was honestly the first.
I think it hit you at the wake.
That's what I'm saying. It
Yeah.
was the first person like that close to me that ever died.
Yeah.
So I didn't really know how I was going to handle it, and I was 22 years old, so I was lucky.
That's the thing. I was a few weeks short of my 24th birthday.
Yeah,
We
so-
were very lucky to have our grandparents all that long.
Yeah. So
Yeah, you were older than Grandma Ida when she lost her dad.
She was a teenager.
Yeah, she was like 16.
yeah, and that's her dad, not her grandfather. Yeah.
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 So that was the closest person to me that had ever died. So I didn't know how I would handle it, and I was kind of like in that spot where you're like, why aren't I crying? Why aren't I?
Feeling something?
Yeah. And then
Oh, I know why I wasn't feeling
out
anything.
of nowhere it hit me, and I remember Gina was sitting next to me, our sister-in-law, and I just started bawling. And she was like, "What's wrong?" And I just, obviously like not what's wrong, but
Yeah.
it was just
Like,
out of nowhere.
are you okay? Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just kind of starting to think about all the things that aren't gonna be
What's gonna
happening
change.
anymore, and how Grandma was telling them that she, wanted to start to get everything in order so she could move into assisted living and everything. And I was like, what about Sundays? And Gina looked at me and said, "You can have Sunday dinner at my house anytime you want." She said, "You can invite everybody, whatever you want to do." She said, I'll help you keep that tradition alive."
well,
And then she
Gina
told,
grew up like we did.
Yeah.
like Gina's a Toscano.
Yeah, Gina's the only she's full blooded. I mean, she's
She's got it more than us.
she's hardcore,
But yeah.
and she still
well,
goes to her mother's just about every Sunday. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that blonde grandson of mine, Jimmy, one of the whitest kids you'll ever see,
He's more Italian
is
than me.
more Italian than these two. And as Italian as I am, basically.
And more Italian than his cousin Zach, who looks like
looks like
he
us,
fell
yeah.
off the boat.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Hey, you know
And then
what?
there's-
He's dark and hairy.
You know
And
what?
then-
I
and
was
then
told.
there's little Marissa, who's a little Gina.
Yeah.
Oh, she's a little paisan.
There's no way she's not a paisan.
Well,
even-
look at me. I was told. I mean, my entire life, I do look like mom. People that don't know mom though
Yeah.
say I look like you, but I always question. I'm like, really? I look like my dad? 'Cause
Yeah,
I've
but
never
Katie's
heard that.
hair is not really that color.
That's what I was gonna say. I was finally told.
blonde.
No, I'm light brown.
Oh, okay.
I'm light brown.
Okay.
Because remember, Grandma Amsler got mad at me for. Grandma Amsler got mad at me for dyeing my hair, and I hadn't
know.
dyed it in a year because it was light brown. And she goes, "You're supposed to be blonde." Nope, not a blonde anymore. It naturally became like light brown.
How do you know?
My roots.
I want you to grow your hair out so I can see it.
I don't because I like my dark hair.
Okay.
What I was gonna say was when I finally started dyeing my hair black or dark brown, I was told, "Oh my God, now you look like a Talarico." I was like, "Ah, awesome! I finally look like I fit into both sides of the family." Anyway,
Okay, so then let's get into any more on the family before we get.
I do
into
have one
the-
more
I'm
thing
sure
to say.
we'll go back, but
Thanks
Yeah.
to my dark hair, Beth gets super pissed when people come in and they tell me I look more Italian than her.
I don't get pissed. I don't care.
No,
I look
you do.
like-
You're
I
like,
look
she
what I
dyes
look
her
like.
hair. No, you say it all the time. You're like, she dyes her hair.
You
She
look
doesn't look
like-
more Italian than me.
She gets pissed.
She gets pissed. Nah.
Okay.
I
was
get
gonna
pissed
say,
about
though-
other things.
I was gonna say though, when you were saying, you were finally feeling something at the wake, it finally hit you. Only reason why it didn't hit me was because that morning I was at Grandma's house with her, and I said it was probably 10 or 11 that morning. I said, "Grandma, do you think it's too early to add vodka to my orange juice?" She goes, "No, you better do it." She goes, "It's gonna be a long day, and it would probably taste better too."
Yeah.
So I started drinking early that day, and by the time of the wake, I was feeling comfortable enough to not cry, because I'm usually the one that cries
Yeah.
quick, like immediately.
Yeah, like when the cops blame you for setting off the alarm.
That's a story for another time.
Yeah, it
Blamed.
is.
Yeah, blamed.
Shut up.
Okay.
Vaffanopoli.
Katie pulled a fire alarm one time.
I did not. You were there too.
They tried to arrest her when she was 11.
I didn't cry. You did.
Yeah, the cops were mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, the only reason why I did not cry hysterically like you did at Grandpa's wake was because Grandma was feeding me vodka all day. Another amazing thing about that woman, she was always the one to be like, you look like you need a drink. Here you go.
Yeah, the slush on New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I forgot to make some this year.
Yeah.
I suck.
Make it
Well,
tomorrow.
we didn't have Christmas Eve yet, so let's do it at Mary Kay's.
Yeah, but we had it at your house a couple years ago when I had to host Christmas Eve. I
Yeah.
made it.
You
Okay.
did.
So I dropped the ball. I
You dropped
apologize.
the
All
ball.
right.
You suck, Beth.
I'm sorry, Pittsburgh.
All right. So anyway,
Maybe I'll make it as a special. Can I do that?
If we get a local alcohol, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. I'm
Yeah,
in
we
North
could do
Dakota
that.
next week, but the next week,
King Fly.
come get
King
some
Fly.
slush.
King Fly,
Okay.
we need some whiskey.
Grandma to slush. Yep. Okay.
Anyway, Dad, where do you want to go from here?
So
Weird
anyway,
in here.
let's get into the wine then. The wine thing then.
Okay.
Okay. So my grandfather, as most people think that most Italian immigrants always made wine, and I think probably most of them did, or at least some of them did. But some of them didn't, and I think the reason some of them didn't is like my grandfather. He came over here at 18 alone, without a family, and I don't think his own family traditions probably had the time to influence him that much. And then he came and he was a hard worker. I mean, the guy. My dad said that originally he was unloading pig iron off of railroad cars, which I don't know what pig iron is, but it sounds like it's heavy as
I
shit.
think it's like, I think I looked this up because I had to write a paper about
Yeah.
this stuff before. I think it's raw iron.
That's what I would think it was.
Yeah, I
And
think
it
it's like
probably comes-
unprocessed steel or something like that.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it probably comes in big ass slabs.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was doing this all day. And when you come home from doing this all day, you don't sit there and make wine. And his whole life, he was a really hard worker, and he was an Italian American, or no, he was an Italian. He was not an Italian American. He was an Italian immigrant.
He was an Italian.
And yeah, and what they did, I
Actually-
mean, they lived for their families.
So I've read something that's kind of controversial. We would technically not be, well, Beth and I would be American at this point, but they say the Italian immigrant is the Italian American because they're the one that came over here and became American.
Okay.
The next generation is American Italian, which would be Grandpa, and after that, I guess that would would be American.
You called me a fucking Metagon?
I'm calling you American.
God damn
Actually,
it.
we watched that.
No, that's why I'm saying it's a controversial
Yeah.
take.
Okay.
We watched something on that at Grandpa's one time.
Probably his Sons of Italy DVDs.
Yeah, I think that's what it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So anyway, my grandfather never made wine. My dad never made wine. My Uncle Sam never made wine. My Uncle Dom never made wine. My Aunt Mary never made wine. Nobody made wine. But we always had Cribari Chianti in a gallon
That's a nice pour. You can
sitting
hear
on
it
the
right in the
table
microphone.
at my grandfather's house.
With the straw bottle?
No, this was
Oh,
this was a gallon. It was Cribari.
like,
there wasn't the high class Chianti stuff.
It was
Cribari.
the Carlo Rossi of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like basically it was probably $3 for a gallon in the 60s.
What's that make it now?
Huh? It's probably a $20 gallon right now.
Okay.
Okay, so I mean it was cheap wine, but it was a good table wine. But anyway, when I
There's something to be said about cheap wine, though, because when I went to Italy and I was studying in Rome, I would go to their grocery store and I would find a good Montepulciano for €6 or €7.
oh absolutely.
So I'm just saying.
When you said there's something to be said for a cheap bottle of wine, I thought you were going to say it's cheap to get fucked up. Good
Wow.
job. Good job.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
But so anyway, when I was after I interned, as most of you know, I'm a doc. But after I interned, I went to a friend of mine's house, and was serving some wine that he made. He wasn't Italian, but he was, he made wine. I said his name was Bob. I said, hey Bob, how'd you learn to make this wine? He says, well, go see Doug Moorhead over at Presque Isle Wine Cellars. And Doug was a really good guy, interesting guy. I mean, this guy grew up on a farm.
And this is up in Northeast PA.
Northeast Pennsylvania, northeast of Erie. This is Welch's grape juice country. But anyway, Doug grew up on a farm, went to college in viticulture.
Yeah, he studied at Penn State.
At Penn State, he studied viticulture, and he came back and he continued to run his family farm, and he started a winery. He was the first person in Pennsylvania to do a winery. So anyway, Bob said, go see Doug Moorhead. He'll sell you what you need. He'll tell you how to do it. So I go out to Doug's place, and him and his wife Marlene were there. And nicest people in the world. They sold me a book this thick. It cost me $1.50. It was the Beginner's Book of Winemaking that him and his wife wrote.
I'm pretty sure I have that now.
Yeah, you do. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a paperback, and by paperback I mean it was made on 8.5 by 11 paper
And
that was
folded in half.
but it was done professionally. I mean, actually, a publisher did it. So anyway, I started making wine. I started making it with the Pennsylvania grapes, but being that I like dry white wines, I was never really totally satisfied.
Do you remember what varietal you were using?
Most of the time I made a French hybrid called Foch, Foch.
Okay.
And of all of them, it was the best, I think. The problem with Pennsylvania grapes for dry red wine, with a short growing season, the wine is high in acid content and it tends to be a little sour. And that's why most of the Pennsylvania wineries sweeten their wine. Now, Doug had made some Cabernet from up there that he was pretty good at. He made some really decent Cabernet from Lake Erie grapes. But anyway, after doing that for about 10 or 12 years, I kind of started to migrate to the California grapes that come in. And to make a long story short, we started getting them from Ronnie Casertano and Mario over at CFP Winemakers, Consumer Produce in the Strip here. Everybody in Pittsburgh that does wine knows Ronnie. So anyway, I started making them from the California grapes. And so when the girls were in Pitt, they decided that they wanted to try to run a restaurant when they were done. And it was only natural. I mean, she was Italian culture and Italian
studies major, yeah.
Italian studies and English literature.
Yep.
And she
I
was
just like to eat.
communications. And so naturally they wanted to start a restaurant. But you know what? I mean, my dad had a restaurant when I was a kid. They knew that. They never experienced it, but they knew it.
No, because that was your teenage years into you. When did he sell it or get
He
rid of
sold it when I was probably 16 or so.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So
So what? Probably a good decade.
oh
Less than that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We're halfway there.
So
Frank's
anyway,
Snack Bar.
I said to him, well, let's get a commercial winemaking license, and we'll start selling at farmers markets, expos, things like that.
Bridal shows. Yeah.
And then when you get out, we'll open a restaurant. So he said, okay. So we started doing it, and we really never made any money out of it. You can't make any money selling wine at these expos.
Well, and they all wanted sweet wine.
They all wanted, you can't make real wine
Right.
at these and make money at these expos. So anyway, who wants to take over here from the time when you got out? Well,
Beth, we've touched on this a little bit before. The podcast we did with Larry, that he threw you into the kitchen one day and just said, "Here you go, kid."
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to retell that, but
No, but that's where you started with your cooking.
yeah,
in a
honest to
kitchen.
God, when we first opened, and sometimes I still feel this way, I had no damn business being in a kitchen, let alone in Lawrenceville, which is the busiest and most popular neighborhood in Pittsburgh right now, especially when it comes to the restaurant scene. And I'm not even gonna lie, I failed a lot.
Who hasn't?
Well, the first couple months, it was just like big time growing pains. It was scary. Sometimes it's still scary, but you just kind of roll with it. But yeah, when we first started, I had absolutely no business doing what I was doing. I didn't know how to run a kitchen, let alone how to cook in one at that capacity in that amount of time, if that makes sense.
You mean like timing dishes?
Yeah, I mean,
or?
it's funny because before we even opened, so many people asked me, they're like, how are you going to do it? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to do it. Nothing really scares me. So
Thank God.
I don't,
Because everything
like
scares me.
I said it was scary before, but I don't think I mean like I was afraid.
No, but there's always some uncertainty.
Yeah, it was just sometimes I'd fuck up and sometimes worse than others.
But luckily, you're the kind of person that takes that as a challenge.
Yeah, I don't.
You're like, you know what? I don't know how to do it, but I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah, and I think the second I have a little bit of I had a testadora. I got a hard head. I'm stubborn
We all
as hell.
have the testadora.
I'm stubborn as hell. I don't like to think I usually don't think I can't do something.
You don't like to think?
Yeah, I don't like to think. But there are times where everything is falling apart around you and you don't want to, and all you want to do is scream. And I've done that a couple times.
Who hasn't?
And I think it took me like 6 months here before I actually freaked out in front of somebody. And it was probably you.
Yeah.
But because like one thing burnt and then it was just like
Spirals.
dominoes.
Well, and that's a normal thing.
But I've told myself since day one, when something goes wrong, the last thing you can do is freak out. Because if you freak out, you're further behind than you would be if you just suck it up and move on.
Have you ever heard I've seen this on social media before. It says you always catch the belt loops on your pants on a cabinet on the days you're having the hardest time or something like that. Like it's like the annoying things or stupid shit or whatever, just like everything goes wrong.
Yeah.
Like you don't catch your pants loops on a cabinet on a good day. It always happens on a bad one.
Last week's a good example. I was having a rough day, just in general, all over the place.
It's been a long couple of months.
And I didn't feel well. I was sick. Had all kinds of shit going on. I was like probably 20 minutes from being done and being cleaned up and ready to go. And I was putting something in the fridge and I stood up after Anna said, "Don't hit your head." I stood up and just cracked the fuck out of my head on a shelf. And then I just sat down and just screamed. But
well, that's the thing. You came to me, you go, "I'm going home first. I hit my head. I'm done.
Yeah, I was just
I'm
done
going the
for.
fuck home." And I was like,
but
"Okay, go ahead."
Thankfully, those days are a lot less than the other ones, the good ones, I guess I should say. But I don't know. We just jumped in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking back, the way we jumped might have been a little dumb, but
Oh, it was. There's no question about it. Now, let's
Live and learn.
Let's backtrack
we
a
shouldn't
little
have
bit.
jumped when there was a wave coming. That's
Okay, you can't
let's
predict the
backtrack
pandemic.
Let's backtrack a little bit to how we ended up here.
not what I meant, but go on.
So anyway, when we decided we were going to do that, first thing, obviously, we had to get we had to have a place for it. So when you need real estate in our family, you go to Grandma Deb. And
When you need an Airbnb,
Yep.
when you need a vacation home, whatever, you go to my mom.
she has a PhD in.
Matt says it's a PhD in, she has a degree from HGTV.
HGTV.
Yeah.
So that's all we had to say was, hey, and she wasn't real. I don't think she was as keen as the rest of us were on the concept.
No, she was terrified.
But once you tell her, tomorrow it's done.
Yeah.
When you tell her you want to buy a house or anything, tomorrow it's fucking done.
You gave her 5 years to sell your old house, and she found one within a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, Dell's had closed at the time, and we were going to look at Dell's. And the day before we looked at it, they sold it. So unfortunately, we would have been at Dell's because we wanted to be in Bloomfield because we are Italian and it was an Italian restaurant.
We wanted to bring back Little
Yeah.
Italy a little bit.
Yeah, because and to this day we feel bad that Little Italy's kind of almost gone.
Yeah.
Although it's migrating toward Lawrenceville. At least we like to think so. And if you look at our sign in the front with the intersection of Arthur Avenue and Mulberry Street. If those two streets intersected in New York City, you'd be right fucking here. So anyway, we couldn't get Dell's, so the realtor that we got was showing us this piece of shit property right 3 steps down, right on the other
Right
side
on the
of
corner.
39th. Oh my God! It was
I still don't know which building it is.
No, it's literally this
the
one
cor-
right
it's
on
the
the
corner
corner.
building.
Oh,
The
okay.
one that's all boarded up.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I went in there with Dad.
You act like I'm somebody that notices things.
Oh,
no,
my
no.
God.
Go
Here's
on.
the thing, Beth. This was apparently a restaurant or a bar or something at one
Yeah.
point, but there were no windows.
No.
There were no windows. The whole place was dingy ass carpet. Dad went in the basement, came right back up, and told Mom and I, "Don't go down there."
Yeah, it was pure shit down there.
And then they were showing us the apartments above it because you buy the whole building.
Yeah,
and
there were
Dad's
6
like, "Oh."
apartments.
But you had to go through one to get to the other.
Yeah.
You had to literally walk through the middle of one apartment to get to the 3rd floor apartment. Like,
So-
what the fuck?
Yeah, so basically we told the realtor, I don't think this is for us. And as we were walking by, your mother
Well,
saw this place, no surprise.
7 years later, that one's still there though. It's
Yeah,
sitting
no,
there.
it's
sitting
still
there.
empty, yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to tear that place down. But so anyway, Deb sees this place and she says to the realtor, says, "Hey, let's look at this one." Next thing you know, we bought it.
Well, we were in Green Bay at a Packers game. Do you remember that?
Go ahead. Yeah, I do.
We were in Green Bay where we were on the road or something, and Mom FaceTimed us trying to show us the place, and we should have realized this place was a cell phone dead spot at the time because she kept cutting out anyway. But I mean, we're still having those problems. But she came in and toured it, and it had the potential. And when we came back, we got it.
Yep.
Mom did a great job. She found
Yeah,
a
she
great
did.
place.
She found the place, and so we're here. And so anyway, the next step was it was a deli. It was owned by a guy named Sam, who was an Egyptian who had a Chinese wife, and they sold fusion food.
That is the millennial term for it.
Yeah, gyros, Chinese food, a little bit of this, a little bit of that,
Breakfast sandwiches.
some
yeah.
Northern African stuff. It was a deli, and it had like places for 12 people to sit.
I don't even know if it was that many.
Yeah, I think it was 12.
Was it? Because I
Yeah.
only remember 2 tables when
Yeah.
we came in. No public bathroom.
No public bathroom. So obviously the first thing we had to do was redo the place.
A lot of it.
So we thought, oh, okay, 6 months will be open. Well, as it turns out, this is the city of Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh's no different than anywhere else. I always like to say that we did 6 months of remodeling in a year and a half. The builder that did it for us, really good guy, Glenn. That was the last job he ever did in Pittsburgh.
Because of the permits and all
Oh,
that.
the permits-
all the bureaucratic
permits ridiculous.
crap. Yeah.
But you know what? I'll tell you what. I went up to the permit office in Pittsburgh, and I really could not get mad at the people there because
No, they did a good job.
no, you know what? You go there, and there's like 5 people in this office, and you look behind the desk there, and there had to be 100 plans, and they had to approve everything from a deck to a hospital to a hotel to a restaurant.
Well, and every time I was there, I probably went a handful of times. There was a line out the door.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. I mean,
Yeah.
they just didn't have the people to do the job, and then
This is why people like Grandpa build stuff without approval.
oh yeah.
Like Grandpa building a garage out of a carport
Yep.
without ever getting a building permit.
Yeah, he did. He put up a carport and quietly did a wall at a time.
Not saying that's what we did, because we didn't. But
And-
I understand why they do it.
And when we sold the house, we had to pull a few strings at City Hall up in Erie to be able to.
Oh, yeah, his house, yeah.
Yeah.
They
And-
put a deck on that house. Me and Isabella drove by the other day.
Did Oh, did they?
Yeah, right next to the garage.
Yeah. But
Nice.
it's the
With a
old thing.
carport, I guess.
It's
Wait,
the
wait,
old
wait.
thing. It's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
Is my rock retaining wall still there, or did
I,
they take it
I
out?
didn't look.
Because I built Grandma and Grandpa a retaining wall for their garden.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
I didn't
I just
look.
wanted to know if it was still there.
So anyway, it came time after 18 months, after 6 months work and 18 months, it came time to do our soft opening. And I think this is where we go back to Beth. She's told this story before, but it's a good story, so we should tell it again.
With the sauce story.
Yeah.
All right. When Grandma was moving out of her house, moving into assisted living, I would always help her make sauce when I was little, but I could never do it right. And she always claimed that she gave all of her kids her sauce recipe, and they all said hers was the best, and they all changed it. And actually, Aunt Mary Kay admitted to me the other day that she makes it totally different. So anyway,
Yeah.
so I kept asking her, I want to make it with you, I want to make it with you, I want to make it with you. She's moving out of her house and she says, I'm making it one more time, pay attention. I said, I'm going to record you. She said, no, you're not, just pay attention.
I still wish you would have, just for the sake of having that video.
It's okay, this is better.
I know, but no, I'm just saying, just a side note, I love the fact that we have so many Papa Joe videos that our kids and our nieces and nephews are going to look back at someday and be like, yep, that was Papa Joe.
Let's not talk about someday.
I'm just saying.
Anyway, so now I lost my train of thought.
Grandma was helping you make the sauce for the last time. You can't record it.
Okay. So we made it one more time. I went home. I tried to make it. It still wasn't right. And then for the next 9 months, I would, every time I go to Erie, I'd bring her more sauce, make her try it.
Yeah.
She'd say, oh, it tastes good. It tastes good. And I'm like, I'm missing something. I always thought she didn't tell me something because she was afraid I wouldn't come back. So she died New Year's Eve, 2016, leading into 2017. So just 6 years ago, just the other day.
And 11 months before we opened.
And 11 more months before we opened. And I continued to practice the sauce and it still wasn't right. So it was good. It just wasn't great.
For the record, it was really good sauce.
Yeah, it just wasn't
You're
perfect.
right. It wasn't grandma's. Go ahead.
So we have this friends and family weekend. We invite all of our friends and family and all the people that would be honest with us instead of telling us everything was good and blowing smoke up our ass. We wanted people that would say, this is good, this sucks, kind of thing.
This could be better.
So
whatever.
actually, the week before that, I had
You had a friends and family
handful,
day.
small handful of people here, so that we could test out the point of sale system and ordering and all that stuff. And I burned the sauce that day, and that was one of the times I was like, "What the fuck was I thinking?"
I hate when that happens.
I didn't sleep for 3 days. That was probably the last time I thought that I couldn't do anything that I set my mind to.
Maybe not that you didn't want to, it's that you thought you couldn't.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you were like, I'm done. I don't want to do this
I
anymore.
think everybody's like that, but
Yeah.
I have confidence in myself. Anyway,
As you should.
so I burned it that day, and then so a week later, I'm like terrified. Like, what if it happens again? I have all these people coming, whatever. And it was probably about 20 minutes before we opened the door, and I went to taste the sauce, and I was like, holy shit, this is it. I went and got my dad, and I've seen him cry 2 times in my entire life. One was when Grandpa died, and the other was when your Uncle Sam died. And I made him come in, and I said, just come here. And he came in, and he's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I was like, just taste this. And he tasted it, and he had a little bit of some kind of a tear in his eye. And I was like, taste the pasta visual now. The pasta visual was perfect too. So he said, she's here. I said, yeah, no doubt about it. So
Ida's cooking with you.
I think from that point on, there was no reason to freak out about anything because I knew if I fucked up, Grandma would save my ass. She still does sometimes.
The logical person in me, which doesn't come out often because I am a very spiritual, like not higher power, but higher, like something's going on that we can't control kind of thing. The logical person in me wants to say, oh, it was just because when we were making it for the sauce just for us.
Don't say anything you can't take back. Don't give my secrets away.
I'm not giving any secrets away.
Okay.
Shut the hell up. The thing is, the logical person in me wants to say it wasn't the same because we weren't cooking as many meatballs and the sauce wasn't as greasy, but I know it's bigger than that. I do. Maybe that's a contributing factor because when we were going to Grandma's on a Sunday, she's making meatballs for 30 people. When we're cooking it at home, we're making meatballs for 4 people.
Yeah, but I never, even when we would have like the boys down or something, we'd make sauce and it wasn't right.
No, and that's why I'm saying I know that's not the only factor. Dude, when we put the That's Italian sign above my coffee bar, I bawled. Like hysterically because that thing looks like it belongs on my wall. The sign hung in Grandma and Grandpa's kitchen for at least 40 years. Grandma gave it to me when she moved out of her house. She said, what do you want? I said, I want that thing and that's it. She gave it to me. I hung it above my coffee bar in my dining room. And the color of the text where it says That's Italian is yellow. And it matches that yellow on my wall almost perfectly. and I cried
Yeah.
because it was meant to be there. You know?
Yep.
And I got the giant rosary that nobody knows why they had.
And the dinner plates and the sauce pot.
I know, that all
and-
makes sense. The rosary thing really trips me up a little bit.
You want to hang it up here? We can.
Okay.
Yeah, we can.
Let's do it. Dude,
Okay.
I'm always saying.
We have a bathtub
Madonna. Well, that's the thing. Okay, here's the funny thing.
Well, at the end of the day, that rosary, even though I'm not religious, is mine.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay. All I'm saying is, as Italians, we have this special affinity for the Madonna. Even as non-Catholics and non-spiritual people, like there's still a special place
Oh, yeah.
in my psyche
Yeah,
for the Madonna.
that's true.
I don't know why, but it's there.
It's the gene. It's like the Frank Sinatra gene.
What's the Frank
You don't know
Sinatra?
the Frank Sinatra gene? You like Frank Sinatra?
Oh, the fact that all Italians like him?
all Italians like him.
Ask
Whether
Madison.
you know it or not.
Does Madison like him?
I'm sure she does. If
Someday.
She
She
may
will.
not know it yet, but she likes him. Yeah.
We were having that discussion with her the other day about Billy Joel and how someday she's going to look back and be happy to go to a Billy Joel concert,
Yeah.
even if she's, more a Taylor Swift kind of girl
Happy
right
to
now.
have gone to one.
Yes,
Yeah.
We're making her go to one.
we are making her go to one. Anyway,
Although Billy Joel's not Italian.
yeah, he is.
He's Jewish.
His mother was Italian.
Oh, I didn't know that.
His mother was Italian. His dad was a German Jewish man.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, not that there's any difference.
I just think a lot of paisans like Billy Joel.
Yeah, well, I mean... it's-
Isn't Bruce
he's
Springsteen a
good.
Paisan? I think
Huh?
his mother was Italian too.
Maybe. I mean...
Steven Van Zandt's mother's Italian.
the culture's the same. Let's face
Exactly.
it.
Well, yeah, there's not a big difference between
Why don't
Jewish
these
people
Italian,
and Italian.
ladies marry German dudes or Jewish dudes or?
Dude, speaking of which, when I was at Enrico's working at my coffee bar one day, this would have been 8 or so years ago. Somebody looks at me, he goes, "You Italian?" I said, "Yeah." On my dad's side, he goes, "Did your dad marry a German girl or an Irish girl?"
That's
I said,
what happens,
I
yeah.
said, "German. How do you know?" He goes, "They go for one or the other."
Yeah, that's really true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, you proved it. Grandpa proved
Yeah.
it. Hey, I got my pretty blue eyes from mom, so I'm not
Yeah.
complaining.
No, they are too, and you too.
Thanks, man.
And Deb too.
It's
Yeah.
from
They're,
Grandpa.
they're more gray than blue, aren't
Grandpas are so pretty.
I don't know. It changes.
they? Yeah.
I don't know.
Who,
anyway,
mom's or mine?
No, ours.
All of you. All
Oh.
of you have pretty eyes. And you all got the big pupils too.
That's how you can't tell if we're drunk or not because
Yeah.
they don't dilate.
And I was wondering, I mean, when I met your mother, I was wondering why she had these beautiful eyes with the big pupils, and I didn't know she was on coke. No, she's not on coke.
Mom has never done that. Mom has never done
No.
a hard drug in her life.
Okay.
Mom freaked out when I went to Amsterdam.
I know.
So come on.
I know. So anyway,
Stick a Corona in her hand though, and she'll give you the time.
Ask her to start a flip cup team.
Yep.
so
Anyway, where were we?
yeah,
I don't
mean,
know.
basically, so to make a long story short, I think we probably should wind up pretty soon.
Yeah.
But to make a long story short, we started this 5 years ago, and we did the stupid ass thing that every person that starts a restaurant ever does. Hey, I got some good recipes. People are gonna love them. And you know what?
Our friends told us that too, though,
I know.
for
And-
years.
And we what that we had the good recipes.
Do you know how many people would come over and be like, "Damn,
Oh
your
my
family's
God.
food is amazing.
Oh
You
my
should
God!
start a
I mean,
restaurant."
yeah.
Look at freaking Sam.
Freaking Sam.
Freaking Sam. She and Beth have been friends.
Sam used to ask me what was for dinner at my house,
So
that
she knew if she could come over,
was,
yeah.
if she was coming over. or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what, 14, 15 years later, at
Every
least?
time he makes beef soup, he asks me if Sam can have some.
Exactly.
If I can bring some to Sam.
16 or so years later, dude, every time I make food at home, I make extra for Sam and Nick. I do.
Yeah.
Yep.
I do.
But anyway, like a lot of people, we made the same mistake everybody makes, is that we got some really good food, and we thought by making the absolute best food in Pittsburgh that's all we had to do. And
Yeah,
and
I wish it was that simple.
No, I know, and I take the blame for that because I really relied on your food and your awesome personality.
Thank
and,
you.
And the wine.
My personality, once you get past the rest
And
of the
admittedly, I mean, sure, we had COVID and everything, but we're 5 years in, we're still struggling. That's gonna change soon, but
we're turning a corner.
yeah, we are turning. I think we are turning the corner, but we're turning the corner because, you not only have to have the greatest food, you have to let people know you have the best food. And we're on a new marketing program that I think is going to let people know who we are, where we are.
I tried to tell them.
And
We all tried to tell
We all
them.
tried to tell them, and you know what? And we did tell them, and by word of mouth, I mean, it's really grown incredibly.
Well, that's the thing. Our regular customers are the most loyal people in the world.
Oh, absolutely.
We
Yeah.
have people that come in once a week, twice a month, whatever. Regulars, like all the time.
Yeah.
And they tell everybody they know. They bring in somebody different every time they're here.
Yeah.
And it's great. I mean, but that only can do you so much.
You have to be repeatedly in their face.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, you know, as...
You gotta be
and
annoying.
That's totally unnatural for us because we're not marketers. We're cooks,
Katie's.
Italian cultural people, and front-end managers.
I was waiting to see what you were going to say because you paused.
And a stunad.
I thought he was pointing at me again, which is
No,
true.
I'm not a
It's true.
stunad. I'm il stugazzo di tutti stugazzi.
The Stunat of all Stugats.
Yep.
Yeah.
You should have a
Il
boat.
capo di tutti capi. That was...
The boss of all bosses?
Yeah, who was that? That was...
That's not you. That's
no,
Beth.
that was Lucky Luciano.
Yeah.
And I'm il stugazzo di tutti stugazzi.
Yeah.
So anyway, and that's where we are now. I mean, basically, you know, we really believe that we have the best food in Pittsburgh, the best, at least the best authentic Italian, Southern Italian food in Pittsburgh. I mean, there's a lot of good Italian restaurants, but none are as real as we are, I don't think. At least not that I've seen.
And I mean, we have our variations. I mean, we're doing spaghetti
Yeah.
and meatballs and fried zucchini, which is a Western Pennsylvania thing.
Yeah.
We're gonna have our somewhat American touches to it, but it's still Italian American, but mostly Italian.
But there's no cream in our carbonara,
There's no cream in our carbonara, and there's no garlic in almost every single item on our menu.
and we don't have Alfredo. We have... what's it?
Cacio.
Cacio.
Cacio e pepe.
Cacio e pepe.
Truth.
A lot of people don't know this, but Italians don't do Alfredo sauce.
Yeah, they laugh at
Over there.
Americans when they ask for Alfredo.
Yeah. Like Polly. I want some gravy.
And you thought the Germans were classless pieces of shit.
Commendatori.
Commendatore.
We kind of knew that, but that's okay.
I am part German.
But
Watch
all
it.
of us are. All of us are. My mom.
Are we classless pieces of shit?
Yep, my mom
Grandma-
was partially German.
Partially.
Mostly
Yeah,
German.
yeah, she's a mutt.
Yeah, mostly German.
Yeah, I don't even know what our percentages are because when Grandma got her DNA test, it was all over the damn place.
Yeah.
It was
And
it was all mostly Northern European, but she had a
Yeah.
little Southern European in there.
And the funny thing is, and dirty little secret is the
Uh-oh.
the grandma Ida that Beth learned to cook from is not really an Italian grandmother.
Oh.
Although, by the time she was in her 80s, she was an Italian grandmother. There's no doubt about it.
I'm never gonna forget. It was
Go ahead.
it was the joint baby shower for our sister-in-law Kara and our sister-in-law Gina. Right, Beth?
No.
No, Mary and Gina.
Yeah.
Mary and Gina. It was when Mary was going to have Isabella and Gina was going to have Jimmy.
'Cause they're only 6 weeks apart.
This is 15 years ago. Grandma is sitting at a table and she's talking to people and she says, the best thing in life you can be, or no.
No, there's only two
There's
kind of
only two,
people.
there are two type of people in the world. Italians and those who wish they were. And your sister-in-law
Yeah,
looked at her and said, so which are you?
yeah.
Because Grandma forgot she was not Italian.
Well, what you have to understand is she married an FBI, full-blooded Italian.
Yep.
And I think 1951, most likely, somewhere around there. I don't know exactly when, but
Grandma didn't even know.
yeah, I know. But anyway, if you married an Italian American man, if you were a woman and married an Italian American man in the early 1950s, you either better know how to cook Italian or you damn well better learn.
And from his mother, because
from my grandmother,
you
my
need to
mother,
learn. You need
yeah.
to learn the family recipes.
Right, because there's only one right way to do it.
Exactly.
And so whenever, and you've heard the story before if you've seen our other podcasts, but whenever we had a family meal, everybody loved my mother's sauce.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandfather, or my dad would always say, oh, it's lousy, it's lousy, it's lousy. And Mom knew that he wasn't serious, but he would never say any different until she walked away and he said, never met an Italian woman cooked any better than your mother.
Well, the funny thing is, he used to give Grandma crap just because that was who Grandpa was. Like
Yeah.
he would admit her food was the best food. But there was one time Beth helped Grandma cook, and he said, "What's different about these potatoes?"
Yeah, I forgot
It was
about
not
that.
a criticism at all. Beth was making Beth made the mashed potatoes.
No, I think he said, "What's wrong with these?"
Did he? I thought it was what's
'Cause then
different.
He felt so bad. No,
I thought it was what's
Nah.
different. I don't think he even criticized it.
Nah,
Though.
he said, "What's wrong with these potatoes?"
Yeah.
He did.
But he as soon as he found out Beth, the what
And I don't think he
16-year-old,
meant it as a bad thing.
No.
He said, "What's wrong with these potatoes?"
because they were different.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you were probably what
And
16
Grandma
at
looked
the
at him
time.
and said, "Beth made them," and he was like, "I'm so sorry. They're really good."
They're great. They're great. You did a great job, Beth. You did a great job. You were probably in high school at the time. You were probably
Yeah.
16. And he was kissing your butt the whole night.
Well, wait, did you hear what Zach said to Kara the other day?
No.
So, I think I was in the car with him. My niece and nephew came down on Sunday for New Year's Day, and I was like, "Well, you guys like pork and sauerkraut?" And they were like, "Yeah, Maddie doesn't eat anything. She eats pork." She had French fries, and I made her some noodles.
She ate one bite of pork to say she did it.
She did. But anyway, so Zach filled his plate up. He's a 17-year-old boy, so he can eat. He has a huge pork chop, a pile of mashed potatoes, sauerkraut, corn, and he starts mixing it all together. And he couldn't even talk. He's shoveling it in his mouth so fast.
He did mix it all
And
together.
he goes,
Dad.
"This is so good. This is so good. This is so good." And his mom told him before he left, she was like, "I'm making the same thing Monday, so if you don't want it 2 days in a row, tell Aunt Beth she can make something else." And he's like, "No, it's fine. That's fine."
Yeah, because you and I had
We had steak.
Yeah, we had
I
steak.
mean, I ate a little bit of pork, but pork's not my favorite. Anyway,
Mine either.
Monday morning,
I love pork. Go ahead.
Monday morning, Zach and I went to, we went record shopping. We went to the attic. And then we stopped here. Papa Joe was making dough for us, so we stopped here for a little bit. And we were on the way home. And Zach's mom called him and she said, "All right, I'm getting the pork and the sauerkraut ready." And he goes, "You got a lot to live up to. Aunt Beth killed it yesterday."
Oh, that's amazing.
I don't know how she did. I'll have to check in, but
That kid is the biggest smartass in the world, though.
Yeah.
I mean, in general, like oh my God, these kids in general, they have the Talarico smartassery, they have the sarcasm. It's obvious they're Talarico kids.
yeah, for sure.
There's no denying.
I told
that
Maddie
they
the
take
other
after
day-
their dad, him. Yeah.
You know how you always say everybody has to have a Tony and you have two?
Yeah.
So I looked at Maddie the other day. I can't remember what she said to me, but it was something that only Tony or I would say. And I looked at her and I go, Papa Joe always says every family has to have a Tony and he has two. And I said, "You better be careful because we're going to have to change your name to Tony soon too, because I don't know where that just came from, but
I'll tell you what, though.
there's a very small cloth the two of us are cut from, and she came out of the same one.
You all have the Tony gene, but even more so than that, she is very much a little you, with the exception of the pickiness with her food.
Yeah.
But that'll
Because
change.
well, that's the thing. You grew out
Lucky
of it.
kid.
You grew out of it by that age, but she's so much like you, it's not even funny.
There was a time I wouldn't even eat pizza.
Well, she's
You
starting.
remember-
She's
you
starting
remember-
to grow out of it.
She's starting to.
I mean, she does that rustic stick, and she just starts eating.
Oh, she eats a whole
takes
loaf of bread, yeah.
Big loaf of Breadworks Italian stick.
And she
starts
likes
eating
the one
whole
that's
thing.
2 days old too.
Yeah,
Which
So
you would
she's
think a
getting
kid
there.
would not.
Yeah.
but she's getting there. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just funny to me because she reminds me so much of you growing up. Do you remember? You only ate like 2 things when you were little.
Yeah, that's why I said I wouldn't even eat
Well, no,
pizza. Who
3.
doesn't eat pizza?
At one point, you stopped eating pizza, but you would eat spaghetti and hot dogs until
Not together.
no. Those were the only things we could get you to eat.
Yeah,
though.
until Grandma ruined it on Christmas Eve.
No, I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say when the boys told you that hot dogs came from your favorite animal, which was the pig, and then you stopped eating hot dogs for a while.
First of all, what fucking 5-year-old's favorite animal is a pig?
Yours.
Anyway,
You were a weird child. You're a weird adult, but you were a weird child.
thank you.
And if we could find the home movies to prove it, I would share those.
Okay, so are we done?
Yeah.
Okay, I have to say something real
ahead.
quick before we're actually done.
Go ahead. You do.
Okay, when's this coming out?
Monday?
I'll put it out tonight or tomorrow. Probably
Oh, okay.
tomorrow.
That's why I asked. Okay.
Okay.
So 2 things before we go. As the resident Pitt fan, I have to mention 2 things really quickly. Papa Joe talked about it in the beginning, but obviously our entire week has been consumed by hoping and just really waiting for good news on Damar Hamlin. We got that today. Obviously, it's been a tough week for not only Bills fans and Pitt fans, but it's just spread across the whole country. And as I said in one of our videos the other day, Damar's a Pittsburgh kid. He's one of us. He really emulates, is that the right word?
Yeah.
Look at me. He really emulates, I think, the Pittsburgh toughness, the Pittsburgh attitude,
The Pittsburgh spirit.
the hard work of a Pittsburgh person. And like we said, we've never met Damar personally. We know a lot of people that do know him and know him well. And you just always hear, even from the time he was in high school, he wanted to stay at Pitt because he wanted to stay close to home. He has a little brother he wanted to be close to so that his brother could watch him play football. And he wanted to be a part of the Pittsburgh community. He could have gone to any college in the country.
Yeah.
Pat Narduzzi went and parked the equipment truck outside of his house on signing day. And he called and said, I want to stay home.
Wait.
And I remember that day to a T. I really do. I'm getting goosebumps right now.
Sorry, I was going to say something
But
smart ass. I'm not going to
He just really, you can just tell that he just gives a shit about his community. And it's become even more obvious with his charity, Chasing Millions. And what he's done for the kids, not only in Pittsburgh, but Buffalo. And if anybody that knows anything about football knows that, in my opinion, I think Buffalo might be the best fan base in the country. And I'm not just,
no,
I'm
they
a
are.
Packers
They are,
fan.
yeah.
They are.
I'm a Packers fan, and I love the Bills. They're my second team. But Bills Mafia is a huge thing, and he has completely embraced it since he's been there.
How many charities, for player charities, have these Bills fans stepped up to donate
no
to?
matter who it is.
No matter who it is.
Even if it's, it started with when Tyler Boyd caught that pass to get them into the playoffs for the first time in 20 years.
Was there Carson Palmer? Was that one of them?
Yeah, hold on though.
Yeah.
When Tyler Boyd caught that pass, I think they
Tyler Boyd hailed a pit.
Yeah, held a
saying.
pit.
Just
He
saying.
caught that pass to put the Bills in the playoffs. Bills Mafia donated to his charity. And then it just goes on and on and on. But for $7 million to have been raised in like 4 days or whatever it was, and
Up from $5,000.
the coolest thing was they said that when he woke up last night, the first thing he did was he wasn't talking much yet, and he wrote on a board who won the game. And they told him, you won the game of life. You got to keep your life.
Yeah.
So you won.
I'm
And
getting
then
chills all
Then
over
they told
again.
him, but
Yeah.
but so yeah, we're just really thrilled about his progress, and Papa Joe's a doctor, so you guys can check out the video he put up to kind of it kind of helps explain it in layman's terms to the rest of us that don't understand exactly how huge that is.
Right.
So check that out. Just keep thinking about Damar, sending well thoughts to him and his family. If you pray, go ahead and do that. And secondly, I think we'd be remiss to not mention that we have a really big Pitt basketball game on Saturday,
Yeah.
and it's here.
And we had a big one on Tuesday.
And it's here. We beat Virginia on Tuesday, and I'm not going to sit here and make any predictions. I'm not going to look any further than Saturday. But we in this building, not one of us ever gave up on that coaching staff or on that team. And
We've had their backs.
and
day one.
I talked to Coach Capel the other day, and he was just really appreciative of us, and we're really appreciative of him.
Yeah.
And it's ever since the day we met him and his family, it's been a very good. We support each other. We support them, they support us.
Yeah.
And it's been an awesome thing to see them, and I think they're starting to prove a lot of people wrong, which is neither here nor there. But we've been waiting a long time for this to be fun again. We've had some glimmers of hope over the last couple of years, but this team just feels different to me. And, I think a lot of people in the city of Pittsburgh have unfairly criticized, and it's time to show up. That's what I'm getting at. It's time to show up for these guys.
Get your ass in the seat.
We've been waiting for it to be fun, and it's fun, and it's only going to get better if we fill the seats. Give these kids something to play in front of. Give them what they've earned and what they've deserved and what they've worked hard for. And that's just going to keep it going. It takes all of us. It's not, you can't just expect the guys that are within the program to turn this thing around. They need our help too. So
Yeah.
let's continue to support them. I know my family and everybody at the Piazza family is going to continue to support them 110%. And just get your asses to the Pete on Saturday. We got, I've personally given our 6 tickets away so that we could get more, people in. So we're going, but I've put 6 tickets in other people's hands just
Oh,
to get
again?
more asses and seats. Fuck yeah, let's go.
No, I mean, for Saturday, you already giving away?
Yeah.
Cool.
And I'm working on 4 new ones. We're gonna get ours.
Cool.
I'm not worried about that. But we're putting asses in seats, and we need the rest of the city to do the same. So
My
let's
ass
go.
will unfortunately be here.
I'm sorry, but we're building something here. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. My ass will unfortunately be here on Saturday. I would love to be there, but we got a big day on Saturday, so I will be here.
Sorry, I'm a slacker. Hail the pit.
Hail the pit.
Hail the pit,
I
but-
will be hailing from Piazza.
Go ahead. We'll let Papa Joe put his 2 cents in.
Yeah, I really have to put my 2 cents in. I mean, with again, we're really close to Pitt Athletics. We sponsor them. Their coaches come here. Pat Narduzzi's been here a number of times. He's become a really
He brought
good
his
friend.
mom.
He brought his mom. Jeff Capel brought his mom, and so did Jason Capel brought his mom.
Oh, I wonder why.
Yeah, I don't know, but anyway, we felt a real kinship with these people.
Jeff and Jason brought their mom on the same day.
Yeah. But the Damar Hamlin thing. I mean, this has literally paralyzed us for 2 days.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all we could think of.
I didn't even want to show up on Tuesday because I was such a wreck.
And we never met this kid.
No.
But you know what? I mean, he's
He is Pittsburgh.
he is Pittsburgh, and you know what? If he knew us, he'd be a Talarico.
Yeah.
I mean, he is us. We just feel so close.
Hey, you know what?
And Jeff and Jason, I mean, it's the same thing, and Ashley and the kids, and
Kanika and the kids. Yeah.
and the kids. And I mean, it's just like, they're our people, and we just love them.
You know what? Damar is only 24 years old. There's time for him to become a Talarico. We'll get
Okay.
him in here.
I hope so.
We will.
So anyway, I think that's it. Anything else to add?
No, I'm good.
I think it's time we sign off. So anyway, again,
These people have listened to us bullshit for an hour, so it's good.
Damar, we love you. Good night.
Hail the pit.
Hail the pit.
Gentani.
Centani.